One of these is foam, and the other one isn't.
What?
So what's it made of? I'll reveal that later, but first let me show you how to make something like this. Starting with this XPS foam, which I cut into a bunch of rectangular pieces by hand. I used low temperature hot glue to bond all the pieces together. That dried very quickly, and then I started carving the rock formation using strategic slash patterns, which I then peeled away layer by layer with my fingers. When I do this, I like to start with the interior section, carve that up to my liking, and then start adding exterior sections that I glue on and then blend by repeating the slash and peel foam technique. I started with a very rectangular object, so the challenge is to make this a more organic shape as I go, because if this ends up looking too rectangular, it will take away from the rock formation illusion I want to achieve. So I play around with different shapes and thicknesses as I add layers of faux rock to the structure. As I piece this together, I try to make sure there is some carving continuity from piece to piece, which will help me erase the layer lines from the foam. Because of the vertical stacking I did with the foam, I had to go in and fill some spots with foam offcuts and then blend them in through carving. And then I did some texturing and detail carving on the piece. Next, I used lightweight wall spackle and a gloved finger to close up any unwanted seam lines or imperfections in the foam sculpture. Once that cured, I mixed up some Mod Podge and acrylic paint and spread it all over the entire piece, which is going to allow me to prime and base coat this with spray paint. If I tried to spray paint the raw foam, the spray paint would destroy the piece. This step creates a barrier that protects the foam. I took the piece outside, put on some protective gear, and sprayed on some Rust-Oleum Slate Gray. Then I used a flat white spray paint to give the entire piece a zenithal highlight, which will mimic an overhead light source, providing highlights and shadows on the piece. The last step for spray painting was to add some randomized shots of stone gray throughout the piece to add color variation. And you can use that terrain carving technique for pieces of all sizes. But enough about that, you want to know what this is made of, don't you? It's made of PLA filament. So it is 3D printed, but that is not even the interesting part. The interesting part is how I was able to 3D print a replica of my handmade art, which was done by 3D scanning my terrain with the 3D Maker Pro Mousse. I've been wanting to try 3D scanning for a long time after seeing my friend and one of my favorite YouTubers, Dwayne Shoots Toys, use it in his art. Shout out to today's sponsor, 3D Maker Pro, who sent me this awesome product so I could finally try this out. The kit that I received comes in this really convenient and durable carrying case that has several compartments that hold all its gear. You'll find a power block, mini tripod, the Mousse scanner, and a turntable in the main compartment. The tripod screws right into the bottom of the Mousse. The turntable has a power cable to allow it to rotate while you scan in table mode. And the scanner itself has a power cable with 2 outputs, so you can connect it to the computer and utilize the software, which is called JM Studio. You'll need to download this software to use the Mousse scanner. To my knowledge, it isn't compatible with any other 3D scanning software. Connect the Mousse scanner to your software. Next, you're ready to scan. You have 2 scanning options, Easy Scan and Table Scan. Since this piece was large, I found it easier to use the easy scan mode here. The odd thing is that I got better results in this mode by turning the Mousse scanner in a vertical position when scanning, which meant I couldn't really use the tripod. And there was a definite learning curve before I got good scans. The scanner has a finite scanning zone. If you get too close or too far away from the object, the scan does not register. I also needed to understand the brightness and sensitivity settings to get good scans, which came with practice. I found the scanner had a hard time picking up the raw pink foam, which is why I painted it a darker color before scanning. But I believe I could scan the pink foam just fine if I had the right settings. So my lack of ability to scan the raw foam was probably just user error. In order to get the most complete scan of the entire object, I scanned the terrain from multiple angles, saving each one as its own scanning layer in JM Studio. When I had all the angles I wanted, I auto-aligned them, which allows the software to combine them into a single entity. And then it's time to process the object into a printable file, which can take a long time depending on the object's complexity. And if there are any unwanted floating objects or pieces, you can use this tool to remove them manually, which works pretty well, but can be tedious. Once you're satisfied with your model, you can export the object as an STL. Import it into your slicer of choice and print it on your 3D printer. The scanner and printer did a very nice job of giving me a tangible, repeatable version of my hand-carved terrain, but it's not a perfect recreation. You can see that the handmade terrain does have a lot more detail in terms of the overall sculpt. I am okay with that though, given the fact that once this model exists, I can not only print a one-to-one copy of it, but I can also manipulate it in so many cool ways in my slicer software. I can scale the object up or down. I can cut it into sections in Bamboo Studio using the split tool. Then manipulate the sections of the terrain to make them look like entirely different pieces, which is what I did here. I took a small section of this piece, sliced it in half, scaled it up, and printed this out. And once you've scaled these up and printed them out, they work really well for action figure photography, wargaming, and other diorama setups. And you might be thinking printing something like this is going to waste a ton of filament, but that's actually not true if you print this with lightning infill. Doing that is going to give you a nice hard and durable exterior with a hollow inside. You can hear that's hollow on the inside. As opposed to this piece, which has solid infill all the way through and is not hollow inside. Doing it this way is still going to be much more durable than foam. So if you happen to knock something over or crash into it, you're not going to have as much of a problem with it breaking. These are going to look really good once I process them and paint them up. If you'd also like to print, process, and paint these for yourself, you can access the files for these on my Patreon. I also sell individual files on my Etsy. If you're interested in getting yourself a 3D Maker Pro Moose scanner, the link is in the description. So my final verdict on the Moose scanner is that I'm really happy to have it, and it really unlocks a lot of new possibilities for me personally. That said, if you're looking to just unbox this thing, scan anything that you want, and have it printable in the matter of minutes, that's not really the reality here. You should only get this if you're willing to put in the time to understand how it works and practice with it. Otherwise, it could be frustrating for you. But now that I have this thing, I have a ton of new ideas for action figure and diorama videos. So definitely stay tuned for those, and if you enjoyed this video, please go ahead and hit the like button and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss any of it.
Vasco Toys. Action figure, dioramas, and props.